My stepdad screamed, "You're a deadbeat leeching off this family," while I was secretly funding his entire lifestyle, including the $8,000 per month penthouse he thinks my mom pays for. Before I share what happened next, do me one favor. Subscribe and tell me the city or country you're watching from. I love knowing where our stories reach. The crystal wine glass shattered against the marble countertop, red wine bleeding across the white surface like an open wound. Albert stood there, his face twisted with that familiar contempt, finger jabbing toward me like a weapon. "You're pathetic, Jeannie. 26 years old and still living at home, leeching off this family like some parasite." His voice bounced off the vaulted ceilings of the penthouse. My penthouse, though he didn't know that yet. I watched my mother, Diane, shrink into the leather couch, her eyes pleading with me to just take it, to keep the peace like I'd been doing for 3 years. My hands trembled around my laptop, the striped dashboard still open showing this month's deposits. $847,000 from my SaaS company. The company I built in my childhood bedroom while Albert told anyone who'd listen that I was a failure. "Albert, please," my mother whispered, but he wasn't finished. He never was. "Look at you. Can't even afford your own place. Your mother works herself to the bone while you sit here playing on that computer all day." He grabbed the back of my chair, his cologne suffocating. "When I was your age, I had a career, a house, respect. What do you have? Nothing. You contribute nothing." The irony burned in my throat like acid. The $8,000 monthly rent for this place? I paid it. The Mercedes he drove? I made the payments. His country club membership, the designer suits, the weekly steak dinners. All me. "Albert, that's enough," I said quietly, but my voice cracked. Not from weakness. From rage finally finding its voice after 3 years of silence. 6 months earlier, I'd been sitting in my childhood bedroom, the one with faded purple walls and posters from high school, when the acquisition offer came through. $2.3 million for Cloud Sync, the workflow automation software I'd coded during nights and weekends while working my day job at Best Buy. I remember staring at the number, then at the acceptance button, my finger hovering. "Jeannie, come set the table." My mother's voice had drifted up the stairs. I'd clicked accept, then went downstairs to fold napkins while Albert complained about the cheap chicken I'd bought with my grocery money. He didn't know that earlier that day, I'd wired the down payment for this penthouse downtown. 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. I'd put it in my mother's name because I wanted her to feel secure, to have something that was hers. The plan was simple. Move them out of Albert's cramped apartment where the heat barely worked. Give my mother the life she deserved after raising me alone for 15 years, and quietly run my business from the second bedroom. I'd tell them eventually, once the business was stable, once I had health insurance figured out, once everything was perfect. But Albert had other ideas. "This place is too good for us," he'd said when Mom first showed him the listing. "Diane, baby, you sure about this? $8,000 a month." "My bonus came through," she'd lied, rehearsing the story I'd written for her. "The firm gave me a huge raise. I can afford this now." His eyes had lit up like a kid on Christmas morning. Albert transformed overnight. Suddenly he was the man who'd made it, posting photos of the penthouse on Facebook with captions like, "Hard work pays off," and "Blessed life." He started inviting his boys over, Joel, Darnell, and Theo, for poker nights where they'd smoke cigars on my balcony and talk about their investments. "Man, Albert, you living large now," Joel had said one night, his voice carrying to my bedroom where I was debugging code. "That pharmaceutical job must be paying bank." "It's about making smart moves, brother," Albert replied, and I could hear the smugness. "Knowing your worth, demanding respect. That's how you build something." I'd bitten my tongue so hard I tasted blood. Albert hadn't worked in 8 months. He'd been between opportunities since getting laid off from the medical supply company, spending his days at the gym and his nights critiquing my mother's cooking. The worst part, my mother was working herself sick to maintain the illusion. She'd taken extra shifts at the law firm where she worked as a paralegal, coming home at 9 p.m. with exhaustion etched into her face, just so Albert wouldn't question why money kept appearing for groceries, utilities, his car payment. "Baby, you don't have to work so hard," he'd say, kissing her forehead while I watched from the kitchen. "We're comfortable now. Relax a little." Then he'd turn to me, unlike some people who just take up space. Every word was a paper cut. Individually manageable. Collectively they were bleeding me dry. My bedroom became my war room. While Albert slept until noon, I was on calls with clients in London, Singapore, Sydney. CloudSync 2.0 was launching, and enterprise companies were paying $15,000 per year for licenses. By month 3 in the penthouse, my monthly revenue hit $450,000. By month 6, I had 12 employees working remotely and offers from venture capitalists wanting to invest. "Jeannie, keep it down in there." Albert would pound on my door at 10 a.m. when I was on a call with a Fortune 500 company. "Some of us are trying to sleep." I'd mute myself, take a breath, then apologize to the VP of operations at a company worth billions, explaining that I had a roommate situation. They probably thought I lived in a dorm. My mother knew bits and pieces. She knew I was making some money from my software, enough to help with bills. But I downplayed it, telling her I made maybe $3,000 a month freelancing. I didn't want her to worry or feel indebted. I definitely didn't want Albert to know. Because Albert had opinions about money. Loud ones. "These tech people think they're so smart," he'd rant over dinner, the dinner I'd paid for. "Writing code, playing on computers. That's not real work. Real work is physical, it's tangible. These nerds wouldn't last a day in the real world." I'd smile, nod, and take another bite of the steak that cost more than his monthly contribution to household expenses. $0. But the resentment was building, a pressure cooker with no release valve. Thanksgiving was the beginning of the end. I'd spent $600 on groceries, organic turkey, fresh cranberries, imported wine, and cooked for 12 hours. My mother's sisters were coming, Aunt Renee and Aunt Charlene, plus my cousins. I wanted it perfect. Albert invited his mother, Marion, without asking. She arrived in a fur coat, her lips pursed like she'd smelled something rotten. "So this is the famous penthouse," she sniffed, eyeing the marble floors I'd chosen, the artwork I'd bought. "Must be nice, Diane, getting all these promotions while my son can't catch a break." "Mom, not today," Albert muttered, but there was a smile playing at his lips. Dinner was tense. Marion kept making comments. "Jeannie, baby, when are you going to get a real job? And Diane, you must be so tired supporting everyone." Each comment was a grenade lobbed across the table while Albert cut his turkey in silence. Then Aunt Renee, bless her heart, tried to help. "Actually, Jeannie's doing really well with her computer business. She's very talented." Marion laughed, actually laughed. "Computer business? That's adorable." Albert told me she barely makes minimum wage doing data entry from home. "It's sweet that you're encouraging her delusions, Renee, but someone needs to be realistic with this girl." The table went silent. My mother's face drained of color. Albert was staring at his plate, but I could see the satisfaction in the set of his jaw. "Data entry?" I said quietly. "Is that what you told people?" Albert looked up, shrugged. "I mean, that's basically what you do, right? Type stuff into computers." That's when something inside me cracked. After Thanksgiving, Albert's behavior escalated. He started having his friends over more often, treating the penthouse like his personal clubhouse. They'd leave beer bottles everywhere, cigar ash on my balcony, food wrappers stuffed between couch cushions. When I asked them to clean up, Albert pulled me aside. You need to understand something, Jeannie. This is my house now. Mine and your mother's. You're a guest here. Act like it. Your house. The words came out strangled. Yeah. Your mom pays the rent with her money. I'm the man of this house. That means I make the rules. You got a problem with that? There's the door. I looked at my mother, who was washing dishes with her back to us, her shoulders rigid with tension. She didn't turn around. Didn't defend me. And I understood. She was trying to keep the peace, to make this relationship work because she loved him, because she'd been alone for so long before him. But I was drowning and she was watching it happen. The day-to-day became unbearable. Albert started commenting on everything. My clothes. Is that really what you're wearing? My food choices. More takeout? Must be nice to waste money. My sleep schedule. Some of us actually work. We can't sleep until 7 a.m. Never mind that I was usually up until 4 a.m. managing a company with international clients. My employees started noticing. During video calls, I looked exhausted, defeated. My assistant Michelle asked if I was okay. You seem stressed, boss. Everything good? I wanted to scream. I'm a millionaire living like a prisoner in my own home. But instead I smiled and said, just tired. Long nights. The walls were closing in. I started documenting everything. Screenshots of payments, bank statements, contracts. Every dollar I'd spent on this fantasy life I'd built for them. The penthouse lease in my mother's name, but with my bank account funding it. The Mercedes lease, $8.47 per month. The HOA fees, $4.50. The utilities averaging $320. The groceries, the furniture, the 75-inch TV Albert watched sports on every evening. 3 years of receipts. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. I organized them into a folder on my desktop labeled Evidence, though I wasn't sure what I was gathering evidence for. A trial? A reckoning? I just knew that one day I'd need proof that I wasn't crazy, that this wasn't my imagination. Then came the day that changed everything. I was on a Zoom call with a potential investor, a woman from a Silicon Valley firm offering $5 million for 20% equity. Life-changing money. The call was going well until I heard Albert's voice booming in the living room. You should see how she lives. 26 and never paid a bill in her life. My wife supports her completely, and she has the nerve to act inconvenienced when we ask her to babysit. I froze. The investor was talking about distribution channels, but all I could hear was Albert, his voice getting louder. Some people never grow up, you know? She's living in a fantasy world, playing pretend entrepreneur while real people do real work. I'm sorry, I said to the investor, my voice mechanical. Can we reschedule? I have an emergency. I ended the call, closed my laptop, and walked out to the living room where Albert was on speakerphone, gesturing wildly. Albert, I said, we need to talk. He looked at me irritated. I'm on a call. End it. Something in my voice made him pause. He told whoever it was that he'd call back, then crossed his arms. What? I need to show you something. My hands were surprisingly steady as I opened my laptop. Albert stood behind the couch, arms crossed, radiating annoyance. My mother emerged from the bedroom, sensing the shift in atmosphere. What's this about, Jeannie? She asked, worry creasing her forehead. I pulled up my bank statements first. The business account. Then my personal account. The numbers glowed on the screen. Balances with more zeros than Albert had probably seen in his life. What am I looking at? He said, leaning closer. My accounts, I said. My business accounts. This is CloudSync, my company. This is my personal checking. And these, I clicked to a folder, are 3 years of receipts for every single expense related to this penthouse. I watched his face as the numbers registered. The monthly rent payments, the car lease, the groceries, the furniture purchases, all from accounts in my name with my routing numbers. Wait, he said, his voice dropping. Wait, what is this? This is me, I said, my voice steady now, powered by 3 years of swallowed rage. This is my company that you call playing on computers. This is my money that pays for every single thing you touch in this apartment. That wine you spilled last night? $45 my money. The Mercedes you drive? I make the $847 monthly payment. This penthouse you love to brag about to your boys? I pay the $8,000 every month. I bought every piece of furniture, every dish, every towel. Albert's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, then something that looked like panic. Diane. He turned to my mother. Diane, what is she talking about? My mother's eyes were filling with tears. Albert, I tried to tell you. Tell me what? His voice rose, that defensive anger I knew so well. That you've been lying to me? No, I cut in, standing up now. That I've been taking care of this family while you called me a leech. You're lying, Albert said, but his voice wavered. This is fake. You probably made these up on some website. I'd anticipated this. I pulled up my business website, the one with my name as founder and CEO. Then my LinkedIn with 45,000 followers. Then articles in TechCrunch and Forbes about CloudSync's success. Then my company's Stripe dashboard live showing today's transactions rolling in real time. $847,000 last month in revenue, I said, pointing to the screen. From my company. That I built. While you called me a deadbeat. My mother was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. Jeannie, I'm so sorry. I should have told him. I should have. Why didn't you? Albert whirled on her. Why would you let me think? He stopped, realization dawning. Oh my God. Everyone knows, don't they? Your sisters. Your friends. They all know I've been living off your daughter's money while you what? I asked. While you disrespected me. Belittled me. Told your mother I do data entry. Told your friends I'm a loser. He turned on me and I saw something ugly in his face. Not shame. Bigger. You made me look like a fool. You let me walk around thinking I was living in luxury because of your mother, and all along it was, what? Some kind of trick? Some game. A game. My voice rose despite myself. Albert, I gave you everything. I wanted my mother to be happy, to be comfortable. I put this place in her name so she'd feel secure. I paid for your car, your clothes, your food because I thought eventually you'd appreciate it, that you'd treat me better once you felt established. But you just got worse. You should have told me, he roared. Why? So you could feel like less of a man? Because that's what this is about, isn't it? Your ego. The silence that followed was suffocating. Get out, Albert said, his voice low and dangerous. This is Diane's place and I'm telling you to leave. I almost laughed. Almost. Albert, you can't kick me out of my own apartment. It's in your mother's name. With my money. Money I earned. Do you understand that? Every dollar that pays for this place is mine. I turned to my mother. Mom, tell him. Tell him the truth. Diane was shaking, caught between us. Albert, baby, Jeannie's right. He pays for everything. I told you my job gave me a raise because I didn't want you to feel. To feel what? Emasculated? Like a charity case. He laughed bitterly. Well, congratulations, Diane. Mission accomplished. This isn't about you, I said. This was never about you. I wanted to help my mother. By making me look like a fool? By letting me walk around like I was somebody when really I was just living off a 26-year-old girl's money? You are somebody, my mother pleaded. This doesn't change. It changes everything. He grabbed his jacket from the couch. I can't stay here. I can't look at either of you right now. As he headed for the door, I called after him. The Mercedes keys, Albert. That's my car. Leave them. He froze, hand on the doorknob. For a moment I thought he might argue. But then he pulled the keys from his pocket and threw them on the floor. They skittered across the marble with a metallic sound that echoed like a gunshot. You know what? He said, turning back. You can have it all. The penthouse, the car, your money. But you'll never have what your mother and I have. You'll never understand what it's like to build something real with someone. Then he was gone, the door slamming behind him. My mother collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. And I stood there, hollow, wondering if winning was supposed to feel this much like losing. Albert came back 3 days later. Not apologetic. That would have been too easy. He came back changed, calculated. I heard them talking in their bedroom, his voice low and persuasive, my mother's responses getting quieter and quieter. When they emerged, my mother couldn't meet my eyes. Jeannie, baby, she started. Albert and I have been talking. We think maybe it would be better if we all had some space. My stomach dropped. Space. Albert stepped forward and I saw the strategy in his eyes. He'd spent 3 days planning this. Look, Jeannie, I apologize for what I said. I was shocked and I handled it badly. But your mom and I have been together for 3 years. We're talking about getting married. And this living situation, it's not healthy for any of us. Not healthy. I repeated. You're 26, he continued, his voice reasonable now, concerned. Living with your mom. Don't you think it's time to get your own place? You clearly have the money. I looked at my mother. Mom, this is my place. I bought this for you. For us. I know, baby, and I'm grateful. But Albert is right. Maybe it's time for you to spread your wings. You could get something amazing all your own. Somewhere you could really focus on your business without us bothering you. The betrayal was a physical thing, sharp and cold in my chest. He convinced you to kick me out of my own apartment. It's not like that. It's exactly like that. I turned to Albert. You really are something. 3 days ago you walked out because your ego couldn't handle the truth. Now you're back and somehow you've convinced my mother that I'm the problem. See, Diane. Albert said softly. This hostility. This isn't healthy. My mother was crying again. Jeannie, please don't make this harder. I love you. But I love Albert too. We want to start our life together, really start it without me, I finished. Without the daughter who made this life possible. That night I made a decision. Not the one they expected. I called my lawyer. Yes, I had a lawyer, a whole team actually, and explained the situation. Within 48 hours I had documents drawn up. The penthouse lease was in my mother's name, but I was the one with the financial responsibility. My lawyer found a clause. I could terminate the lease with 60 days notice and full penalty payment. I paid the penalty. $16,000 to break the lease early. Worth every cent. I also canceled the car lease, paying the $3,000 termination fee. I called the country club and canceled Albert's membership. I went through every single automatic payment I'd set up and canceled them all. Then I went apartment hunting and found a beautiful 2-bedroom loft in the Arts District. Industrial windows, exposed brick, a proper office for my business. I signed the lease on a Friday. That night I sat my mother down alone while Albert was at the gym. Mom, I love you. I've always loved you. Everything I did was because I wanted you to be happy and secure. But I'm done being invisible. I'm done being treated like an obligation. Jeannie. I've broken the lease on this place. You have 60 days. I've canceled the car lease. That Mercedes is getting picked up Monday. Every automatic payment I set up for utilities, insurance, everything, it's canceled. I'm getting my own place. If you and Albert want to build a life together, you'll do it without my money. Her face went white. You can't just. I can. I did. This is what you wanted, right? For me to spread my wings? Well, I'm flying, Mom. Just not in the direction Albert planned. Where am I supposed to go? How am I supposed to afford? The same way Albert kept telling me to figure it out. Your job, his job, hunt, whatever. You'll manage. You're strong. You raised me alone for 15 years. This is cruel, she whispered. No, Mom. Cruel was watching you choose him over me. Cruel was him calling me a leech while wearing clothes I bought. This is just consequences. Moving day was bittersweet. My mother helped, silent and hollow-eyed. Albert didn't show, too proud or too angry. Probably both. As I carried the last box of my things to the elevator, she grabbed my arm. Jeannie, wait. I need you to understand I do love you. Always have. I was so lonely before Albert. Thought I could have both. You and him. A family. You could have, I said. If he'd respected me. If you'd stood up for me. I know. Tears streamed down her face. I know that now. I'm so sorry. I hugged her, breathing in her familiar scent, cocoa butter and lavender. I forgive you, Mom. But I can't save you anymore. You have to save yourself. 3 months later, my mother and Albert moved into a one-bedroom in his sister's building. She picked up extra shifts. He finally found work at a pharmacy, part-time, $18 an hour. They fought constantly, according to Aunt Renee. Meanwhile, my business exploded. The $5 million investment came through. I hired 20 more people. Forbes featured me in their 30 under 30 list. My net worth crossed 8 figures. I bought my mother a modest condo near her job. In her name only, no strings attached, no Albert allowed on the deed. Because you're my mom, I told her when I handed her the keys. Not because you deserve it. Because I choose to give it. She cried. Thank me. Steve, Albert could. No, I said firmly. That's your call to make, but this place is yours. Protect it. 6 months after that, my mother left Albert. He'd started the same patterns with her. Criticism, belittling, control. Without my money buffering them, their relationship collapsed under the weight of his ego and her exhaustion. I should have listened to you, she told me over coffee in my loft, taking in the artwork, the success, the piece I'd built. Yeah, I agreed. You should have. But we both learned something. What's that? I smiled, thinking of the scared girl who used to hide her success, who thought making herself small would make others love her more. That my worth isn't determined by who recognizes it. And that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let people face the consequences of their choices. My mother nodded, sipping her coffee in the home I'd built. This time just for me. Albert? Last I heard, he's back living with his mother, posting motivational quotes about betrayal on Facebook. Still convinced he's the victim in this story. Me? I'm just getting started.